appreciate you all coming out. As I look in the audience, I see you, Cheryl. I see all of my willing workers of the community. Back in Alabama, I think nowadays they just refer to them as ushers, but when I grew up in the church, we had an entire group that was called the willing workers. And that was the crew of women who would do anything. And I'm proud to say that DeKalb County has a lot of willing workers. To be decent and in order, the first thing we generally do is give acknowledgement to those who are elected officials. And I already see that we have been graced with the presence this morning of Mayor Beverly Jones from the city of Stone Mountain. So thank you so much for coming, Mayor. This is a brave woman. I held them hostage all day on Thursday for the first ever mayor's retreat over at Emory. And that was really important to me, and I thank you for showing up then and being present today. Also, is there any other electeds that are here this morning that I haven't acknowledged? Okay. Well, we always want to give thanks to my Board of Commissioners that represent each and every one of you. District 1, we have Commissioner Robert Patrick. District 2, we have Michelle Long Spears. District 3, we have Nicole Messiah. You are currently in District 3 as you sit here. District 4, we have Shakira Johnson, who is one of our newly electeds. District 5, Commissioner Marita Davis Johnson. And to be honest, she would claim this district even though her line stops right up here. So your other commissioner, Commissioner Marita Davis Johnson. We also have District 6, which is Commissioner Ted Terry, and Commissioners for District 7, who also shares where you sit right now, is newly elected Commissioner Dr. Ladina Bolton. So let me thank our panel members for coming out this morning, and to you all, who I often refer to as the beloved community. Many of you may know me. I am your CEO, Lorraine Cochran-Johnson. And I appreciate that. I truly, feel the love and even prayers, believe it or not. But today it is an absolute pleasure to welcome you to our Spring Forward Clean Streets and Safe Spaces Town Hall. Now, many of you know that for several years, and if you've ever written my office with an issue that was associated with code compliance or beautification, I take that seriously. And I take it seriously because perception is reality. When you look around you, that sets the tone for who people believe we are. And across DeKalb County for a long time, I have seen far too much blight. And it's very unfortunate. Those of us that are sitting in this room isn't the problem. How many of you have ever been at a traffic stop and watched someone put down their window to discard their paper? This is the mentality that we live with. And I want to do everything that I can. I want to be very tough on policing as well as beautification and keeping our communities clean. So first, thank you for taking the time out on a Saturday morning to come out here. And this gathering is about more than information. It's about collaboration, and it's also about commitment. How many of you have heard the term each one teach one? Yes. I want you all to know it's time we teach people how to treat us. Be clear. So today when you leave, if you have neighbors who aren't the most neighborly, I often say that you all reach out to me and expect us to work miracles in some ways. But the truth is you can't legislate morality and decency. So start with self. We keep our properties in order, and whether or not you have an HOA, you have to work together. Have an individual who's responsible for placing a note in that mailbox. And also, sometimes we have to band together to help each other. I don't see JP Phillips. I'm sure he'll come in here at some moment, but many of you interact with JP because JP is that person who he organizes community cleanups. because we've dealt with situations where it's just simply an elderly individual who does not have anyone to assist them. So if that's what we need to do, it's time we truly become that beloved community and we work together. So in special circumstances, please feel free to notify my office. So today we are here to reaffirm what we already know to be true, that every DeKalb County resident deserves a clean, safe, and vibrant community. I want to acknowledge the incredible staff, and look at J.P. Phillips walk in just on cue almost as you speak of him. Anytime there's an issue, he's the man to call. So I want to acknowledge the staff, including J.P. Phillips, my chief of staff, Dr. Julia Davis, who worked very heavily on this program. Also, one of our newest team members who is handling events, Mr. Michael Pimpton. Pimpton, where are you? Okay, he's out there handling something. Of course, Diamond Lewis, as well as Aviva and the entire DCTV staff who's here to make sure that this presentation is recorded so that it lives on and others who aren't here have the ability to join us. And thank you to each of you for showing up this morning. So we're here today to engage, to listen, and to learn from one another. Your voice and your feedback is essential, and today we can move DeKalb County forward, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood. So at this time, we're going to get me from up there smiling, and we're going to go ahead and move to our first slide. And this slide refers to clean streets and safe spaces. Okay, catch up with me, guys. There we go. Why we're here. We're here because we all know that clean and safe communities are the foundation of strong neighborhoods. Clean neighborhoods foster pride, and they improve mental and physical health. And yes, they even boost your property values. But we all know that litter, illegal dumping, neglected properties go unchecked, and they become more of an eyesore for everyone. Today, we're going to talk about a lot of the issues we face, because getting properties or abated properties, those that we have deemed that need to come down, go through an in-rem process that often takes years. We need to change that, because during that period of time, many of you contact us multiple times because you don't know the process, but you know what you see. So I want us also to encourage our judges to be more strict with individuals when they come before the courts, because we have to work collaboratively to send a signal that we're not going to accept what we've often seen. So it's those signals that say what no one is saying, that no one cares, and unfortunately those signals invite crime, disinvestment, because clean communities affect economic development in our communities. And it also gives a breakdown in community trust that I am here to rebuild. So that's why we're here today, to disrupt the cycle and to replace it with one that is rooted in a shared ownership of civic pride. Next slide should say we are committed. And all of us who are here today, as your CEO, I'm committed, along with our department heads. We have our Sanitation and Beautification Director, Ms. Tracy Hutchinson. We have our Director of Code Compliance, Mr. Timothy Hardy. And we also have our Chief Operating Officer with us today, COO Zach Williams. And we've all made code compliance and beautification a top priority of this administration. Our teams are out, and they are in the field each and every day, responding to complaints, removing debris, and addressing violations that compromise the safety and the cleanliness of our community. And we're not stopping at enforcement. We are also evolving. We're implementing new initiatives, new policies, and a streamlined process that will help us deploy more resources and remediate negative conditions faster. Because you deserve a government that meets the moment, and one that also leads by example. So what's at stake for each and every one of us? What is at stake? Quality of life is at stake for our families. Economic development is at stake, and also public safety and perception is at stake. When it comes to quality of life, I don't think some people understand the negative consequences of the tire dumping that we see and of open trash and storage. So today there's 7 code violations that I call the 7 deadly sins. And right now we're moving into one. One of those is high grass and weeds. And I'm so happy to announce that we have a program because, you know, it makes no sense for you to call us and they have 14 days to cut the grass. Then after that, we write them note, we bring them into court. That may take 6 months or 3 months. By then, the summer's over, okay? So we have, today you'll hear a plan that ends that too, but I want you to know, any responsibility that you pass on to the DeKalb County government has consequences. It is a cost that you will incur. If you abort your responsibility as a homeowner and you pass it on to us, then you're going to pay for that. And finally, when we talk about public safety, we know that blight and neglect becomes hot spots for crime. I believe that I saw earlier, we have one of our residents along Columbia Drive, Mr. Musgrave, that is a major advocate for cleaning up. And he often sends us long lists of properties. And we welcome that because in many instances, unless we travel down a road, we may not know. So each one of you are what I call first reporters. Let's hear you say it, first reporters. First reporters. When you see something, say something, okay? And finally, I want to go straight to the Our Promise slide so that I can sit down and we can get the show on the road. Our promise, and finally we want to leave you with this promise, is that we are streamlining our response times to ensure that your concerns don't get lost in the shuffle. To that, I will say that we are implementing new software. Across DeKalb County, we've had technology that does not allow our departments to communicate with each other. And it has been to the detriment of you. It has also affected trust. And it's also caused everyone involved to go in what I call a vicious cycle. You call me, I call them. Because that's the only way to get the update when you don't have easy access to information. So moving forward, you know, we have a ticket system that will help that we're using because we are rolling out new software. We're also building more transparent systems so you can track what's happening in your community. I'm very proud to say I do believe COO Williams, our contract for the development of our new website, has been duly executed. So moving forward, I can't wait to roll out a website that is truly the director of first impressions. You won't need to call me. You can go to the website and you can determine whether or not a violation has been reported. So and we're going to tell you the full process of where it is, okay? So creating new and transparent systems. And we're also expanding our community cleanup programs and deepening our investments in tools, equipment, and personnel needed to get the job done. And Director Hutchinson will talk to you about that. So this work starts with each of us, but it doesn't stop here. So let's use today to build bridges and not barriers. And let's lead with accountability, with hope, and let each one in this room be the example. So this morning, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panel members that you now have before us. First, we have Director Tracy Hutchinson. She is the Director of Beautification for the DeKalb County Sanitation Division. Tracy has led several countywide initiatives focused on litter removal, community cleanups, and sustainable beautification strategies. And her leadership has helped shift DeKalb's approach to proactive environmental maintenance. Next, we have Director Tim Hardy. He serves currently as the Director of Code Compliance, and he oversees the enforcement of zoning, sanitation, and property maintenance codes. Oftentimes, our municipal codes is a word I don't see here. He and his team are on the front line of ensuring our neighborhoods remain safe, orderly, and welcoming to all. And last but not least, we have Mr. Zachary Williams, who is our Chief Operating Officer. And he provides executive oversight across departments and works to align the operations of DeKalb with our strategic vision. His leadership ensures we operate efficiently and accountably. So let's hear directly from them about the work that is underway, also new initiatives, and how we can all work together. So at this time, help me welcome Director Tracy Hutchinson.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I am Tracy Hutchinson. I am the Director of Sanitation, and I direct the Beautification Department. I am so glad to be here this morning to present some information to everyone. So, of course, I got to bring my props out with me because I want to be sure everybody recognize the trash cans, the roll carts, and I will go over that here as part of my presentation also. But I am such a proud director to be sanitation and beautification. I always say that, you know, my crews are the hardest working crews in the county. Thank you so much. They are the unsung heroes that go out there and get the job done every day. And of course, we work in various weather conditions, so I always say they're my unsung heroes. So as a part of sanitation and beautification, as I move forward my presentation, I want to go over beautification, talk today more about beautification. Because everybody may not know that beautification has different programs. So what we actually doing is we actually have our right-of-way mowing. And by the way, our mowing season kicked off a couple of weeks ago. It actually kicked off April the 1st. Our mowing season starts April the 1st and go to November 30th. And as a part of our mowing season, we talk about right-of-way mowing, tree trimming, residential abatement lots. Let me go over the residential abatement lots. Those are the lots that could be next door to you that the county own that maybe nobody's maintaining. You call into our call center, call into our call line, and then we'll verify that it's county maintained and it goes on the list. We actually cut the property every 2 weeks, and you will see a contractor coming back to maintain that property. Because we understand if that property is next door to you, you do not want to be sitting next to a property where the grass is up taller than your knees.
And Director Hutchinson, I'm going to be a little interactive here. Can you tell this audience currently how many properties that DeKalb County upkeeps that are abated properties?
We maintain a little over 200, but now the number of properties that we own is higher than that.
So I just want you all to understand the magnitude of what we deal with. Because for us to maintain 200 properties that are abated, that technically, now, and one other question I have, because, you know, as I said, we have to create a streamline of accountability here. Do we not place liens on those homes for the services that we provide?
We put liens on them to when the property is sold for sanitation, beautification to get the money returned back for the services.
Understood.
Okay.
So I want you all to
process.
understand that. If you abort your responsibility and we're forced to come in and do what you do not, then we're going to put a lien on your property because DeKalb County and our dollars, tax dollars, do not exist to take care of the property of individuals who fail to be responsible. Okay.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Madam CEO. We also do the FEMA lots. We have some lots also where they have been deemed we can't put a house on there, but those houses need to be maintained. We also go in there and we maintain those lots also. And then we also, as we cut grass, we know that we got to put down some type of chemicals to be sure that when we finish the season and throughout the season that that grass is not growing up so high before we return. And then, of course, we do litter. Litter is 52 weeks out the year. Every day, people are putting down litter. And unfortunately, I can't control, I'm going to say this, how nasty folks could be. My folks go out there and pick up litter 52 weeks out the year. And there is some roads in the county we call high traffic roads, corridors. When we go 1 week, when we return, it looks like we've never even been there before. And when Madam CEO talked about a community engagement, all hands are on deck when it comes to litter. I mean, we have a beautiful county here, but we have to maintain it. And my crews go out there and pick up, but then we also pay contractors. If you see people walking up and down with orange bags, and we have left those bags behind, that is an indicator that the beautification crews have picked it up, or an indicator that the contractor has picked up litter. And we also maintain the MARTA stops in the county also. You will see us moving around, cleaning up the MARTA stops also. And we don't just do the stop, we'll actually do a circumference around there, because we're not there just to pick the bag up. That's not enough of the job. You gotta walk around that area and pick up everything that's associated with that MARTA stop. So once you see that, you will see my crews out there all the time picking them up also.
And I have to pop in here because I want you all to walk away today empowered and have knowledge. Litter remediation is a fancy word for picking up paper behind people who wouldn't do it themselves. That's a fancy word, litter remediation. And when I was a commissioner on the during that time, if I'm correct, COO Williams, our remediation contract was a 3-year renewable contract for $1 million. I want you to understand the cost.
That's correct.
And so is it 2 years or 3?
No, it was a 3-year contract, but I would guess we spend close to $2 million a year.
We spend about $1 million. It's renewed every year. Right. But here's the thing, is when it's time to renew, the prices goes up. Because the labor involved with everybody walking.
And I want you all to think about what we could do with that money if we didn't pay to have people pick up litter. And also, I want you to understand where the bulk of our litter occurs. You're sitting in it. District 3. And this is true, you know, and I'm not here to be disparate. I'm here to tell the truth. District 3 has the largest amount of litter. That is where the efforts are concentrated on the remediation. So we have work to do with our neighbors. That is the message here. We have work to do here.
Yes, that is correct. Thank you, Madam CEO. So under the beautification program, we also have curb bumping. Most people are wondering, like, what is curb bumping? Curb bumping is when you got the curb and there is dirt and grass growing up against it, and it just looks an awful mess. And so what we go in there and do is we go in there and we have the crews and equipment that go in there and remove it. And that's what we call the polish. You know, like once you cut the grass, you've literally picked up litter. Our scope of work is pick up litter, cut the grass. We do some edging also in certain parts, certain roads, but then we do the curb bumping. That's the finished product. Everything should look nice and clean. Once our crews move out, it should be a nice and clean picture at the end. But that is curb bumping. So the crews actually go out there. It's a slow process, but we have designated crews. That's what they do 4 days a week is curb bumping. And then on our Clean Communities program, the communities can get involved many ways. I'm going to go into more detail into Adopt a Mile, the litter abatement. Any individual, group, association can do litter abatement also. Because we, again, as I said, we need all hands on deck to assist with litter abatement. Illegal dump remediation. We have a lot of illegal dumping here in the county. You call our call center number, you go on the list, we'll go out there and we, remediate that area also. And then we have the community beautification programs. A lot of time communities are doing different programs where you could get free compost. You may be doing an entrance to your community. You may be planting the flowers and stuff at the entrance. We have free compost that we could deliver. We have different types of things that you could get involved with also. And then I'm going to be talking about our Rain Barrel Workshop. This is our first year we're going to be introducing our Rain Barrel Workshop, and I'm so excited to be introducing that to everyone because I know there's a lot of people that garden and got their flowers and stuff at their house, and all this beautiful rain that God is giving us. You could save on your water bill if you got a rain barrel. Somebody's going to clap on that one, okay? You can save on your water bill, yes. So, beautification. Our model is really simple. We call it E3, educate, empower, engage. We want to educate the public, empower everyone, ourselves. We want to make sure it's a partnership. We want everyone to be engaged because the county, we're employees of the county, but a lot of us live in DeKalb County. This is our home also. So if this is your house, it's like pulling into your driveway. This is what you want. You want that. You want to have a nice community, but it takes everyone to be involved. Next slide. Our rain barrel. Again, this is our first time presenting it, and we are so excited. We've got the date scheduled. It's going to be May 9th, 2025. Save the date. Registration will be coming soon. And I have the rain barrel here, what it's going to look like. And this is the rain barrel. I'm going to step away from the mic. This is actually the rain barrel. So if you can imagine this being your gutter. This is your gutter. Thank you, CEO. Thank you. This is your gutter. You attach this to the gutter. When you come, we're going to help you assemble this. The barrel is already at our offices, and this will be the gutter. It attaches, as the rain comes in, it'll fall through the gutter. It fills up the barrel. You take your hose, you attach it here, and that's your water.
And I can't wait to get my barrel. Now, I'm telling you all, because a lot of you call, and storm water is a big issue. Now, I want to be clear, I don't control storm water. Storm water, honestly, I truly believe from the research I've seen, has a large part to do with global warming. You know, I remember, I'm from Alabama, grew up close to Mobile. They would have torrential downpour, very almost like Mediterranean rainforest type, huge. But anyway, now you're seeing that type of rain pattern across the United States. It rains hard and heavy. And you all will call and tell us that, you know, it's a pond in your front yard or in the back, and that everything back there is washing away. And the problem is, you didn't have this problem 5 years ago, even 10 years ago. At the time many of our communities were built, at that time, the irrigation was adequate. But with what we're experiencing, it is not. Now, rain barrels, these are potential solutions, depending upon the amount of rain you get, to help divert some of that water. So when we present solutions, make sure you listen carefully, because, you know, moving forward, these are things that can help remediate some of the conditions some of you may be dealing with.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Yeah, we're excited about the Rain Barrel Workshop. This is our first one that we're holding, but we're going to be holding more in the year also. So like I said, registration, save the date. Registration will be coming available very soon. Next, let's talk about partnering with DeKalb. If anyone, one person, single person, group, association could partner with DeKalb to do any type of cleanup program. Supplies are available. We have Adopt a Road, Adopt a Spot, which is something a little bit smaller if you want to do a roundabout, something in your subdivision. And then we also have Adopt a Martyr Stop also. We're going to recognize you. If you meet the requirements as far as adopt a road, clean at least 1 mile 4 times a year. Same thing with Adopt a Spot, clean at least 4 times a year. Adopt a Martyr Stop, clean at least 4 times a year also. So what we're saying is that we're going to put the sign out. If if your subdivision name, we'll put the sign out recognizing your subdivision. You can be held, you basically going to own that spot. So we encourage residents. It is on our website. Visit our website for all the information. The application is out there. We have supplies available. You could come to our office and pick up the litter sticks. We have safety vests. We have the trash bags, and we will pick the trash bags up for you. We thank you so much for all your effort. We will pick the trash bags up for you. You don't have that to worry about. If you do it on a Saturday during the week, When you go online and schedule it, we're going to see what your cleanup date is going to be. And then once it's completed, let us know. We will come back and pick those bags up for you. My crews, because this is such a huge investment for us that you're helping the county. We're helping all of us together because we all are neighbors. We all are one community. And so we encourage everybody to try to participate as much as they can. So let's talk about composting. Composting, because we're at this season of spring. I was at Lowe's yesterday looking at flowers myself. So we there. I was looking at compost and some mulch and stuff yesterday and some potting soil myself yesterday. So we're there, and I want to remind everybody that all the yard trimmings, my residential crews come to your home. We pick up the yard debris on a weekly basis. It goes to Seminole Road landfill. At the landfill, we have a tub grinders there. We have tub grinders. We grind up everything. We spit it out. We basically it goes through a process. But the compost is available to all residents. We don't add any additives to the compost. It's the natural product that we pick up from your home. Compost is available at 4 locations in the county free. So you got right there off Memorial Drive, where the tax commissioner's office at. There's a location there. There's a location at the landfill. And on the north end of town, there's one at our North Transfer Station on Beaufort Highway. And then if you in Lithonia, Stonecrest, there's a location of Rogers Lake Road. Bring your containers, bring your shovel. Now you may say, you know what, it's too much for me to be running back and forth with my paint buckets, my 5-gallon buckets, I'm hauling back and forth. Can y'all deliver it? Yes, we could deliver it also. Go to our website, we could deliver it for a fee. It's $7.50 a cubic yard, and the minimum is 10 cubic yards. Now 10 cubic yards is a lot of material. A lot of people say, oh my God, this is too much. Share it with your neighbors. It's great material. Because when 10 cubic yards, it's a large amount of material, but once you start spreading it out, you got some areas in your backyard you need to fill in, get your wheelbarrow, put it in that wheelbarrow, dump it in there, you can fill in some areas also. You can use it for various things. So 10 cubic yards, it sounds like a lot, but if you got a decent sized piece of property, you could use it. But composting is available to all residents of the county also. And like I said, we don't check IDs with this. The material is available. You just pull up with your shovel, your paint buckets, whatever container you got, and then you just go on to the house with it. And if you find that some areas do not have it, call our sanitation number, but we have a supervisor that's constantly kind of riding the areas to making sure that the compost areas have compost available. Because the one thing we don't want to say is we got compost available, then you get there and there's no compost available. So, because we don't want you to make a blank trip. Okay, recycling. So, everyone, the standard garbage can is our 95-gallon can, right? Everyone should have a standard. Previously, you had the 65-gallon, then we upgrade to 95 gallons. Gave you extra 30-gallon capacity. But here's the thing. So everyone, believe it or not, you may not think you create that much garbage. The average American generates about 5 pounds of garbage per day. That is a lot of garbage. So think about in your household, because we have residents that are calling in and say they need 2 and 3 roll carts. It's like, wow, what are you doing? That's a lot of garbage. We pull up to homes that's got 2 and 3 and got XX bags outside the container. That's a lot of garbage. We encourage residents to recycle. So one thing that I did recently, we were having issues with the 35-gallon roll carts. We upgrade the 35-gallon recycling cart now to a 45. So the 45-gallon, again, is giving you a little bit more capacity. This is the free complimentary cart. Don't cost you anything for this one. This is a free cart, and it's not, like I said, it used to be 35, a little bit slimmer. This one is a little bit wider, a little bit bigger, And now we in the community or where everybody's, Amazon, and we got a lot of boxes being delivered at the house. So the bigger container works. However, you say, between the washing the clothes and all the laundry containers, water bottles, everybody got a lot of water bottles. This is not enough. Upgrade to the 65-gallon. The 65-gallon is a one-time fee of $25. What I do is I actually try to encourage residents to look at the side of the container, know your number. So when somebody say, what happened to my can? I think it's at my neighbor's house. Now, we don't get involved with going to the neighbor's house saying, get the kids the kid. That's between you and the neighbor. We don't get involved like that. But we have a lot of residents say, hey, we think somebody took my can. So know your can number. Take a picture of it. This can belongs to your home, your address. And I know sometimes our collectors are not the best at putting it where it should be, correct? I know that. I get a lot of calls saying, look, we just want you to put it back where you found it. I understand that. The collectors are out there. One residential route is about 1,100 homes. So that truck got to service 1,100, sometimes 1,300 homes in that one day. If they spend greater than 2 or 3 minutes at your house, we probably spent too much time at the house. So, but we got SOPs. The crews we're doing better. Some crews are better than others. So have a little patience with us. But the crew supervisors are there riding behind them to make sure that you're not having to be inconvenienced to get out your car to move the trash can or the roll cart out your driveway so you could get into your driveway. So we are trying to do it better. We're trying to do better. But here's the 65-gallon. This is a big one. This should last you for the whole week. If you were to recycle, you could reduce the amount of garbage by 25-30%. Because recycling really does reduce your garbage. I mean, you think about how many things that we buy that can be recycled. When I put my garbage out weekly, primarily I'm throwing away food because almost every container could be recycled. So I encourage everybody to start recycling. So when you look at recycling, again, I'm going to go back to the recycling at your home, the composting, the yard debris that we pick up, and glass. Glass can be recycled also, not in this container. Go to the sanitation website and we have locations where you could transport your glass. The processor stopped taking glass years ago because it was messing up their equipment. So we no longer take glass in the residential program at the curb, but there is locations throughout the county. And then also we have electronics. The Seminole Road landfill has a location for old computers, anything like that. You could transport that to the landfill for no charge, and we can have that recycled. And at my building, my office is located off Kensington, which is located off Memorial. You could bring your old fiber, your old clothes and shoes. Now, my location is well maintained. Sometimes you ride throughout the county, you see these closed donation containers and they're not well maintained. And so, but my location is well maintained. We make sure that we get in touch with that vendor to come in there and make sure that he takes the fiber out and stuff like that. But anytime you want to donate any type of old fibers, shoes, or anything like that, we have some containers at my headquarters. Does everybody know where my headquarters is at? Located right off 285. The big building, it says DeKalb County Sanitation on it. I always use the landmark as a jail. We're not too far from the jail off Memorial Drive. But that is the headquarters for sanitation. So this is, when you look at recycling, your small changes can make a huge impact if you were to start recycling at your house. Our biggest commercial customer is the DeKalb County School Board. I truly believe if you start with the younger folks, the kids with recycling, those are your target audience as far as recycling, as far as reducing the amount of garbage. Because sometimes as adults, when we're used to things on how we're used to doing things. The kids, when they got Earth Day, science fairs, anything like that, you can start recycling with them. It's a good thing. And then we also want to educate our kids on saving the environment also and being good stewards of the environment. So as Madam CEO talked about, this is going to be an exciting program. So it's the DeKalb Community Beautification Program. Keeping DeKalb beautiful one lawn at a time. This is going to be very exciting because we're looking at offering affordable lawn services to residents. That'll be on her behalf, Madam CEO. Yes, you get.
As I said, we have some solutions here, but I want to go back. I'm multitasking, I'm working, and I didn't want us to glide past composting. How many of you in here live in the Ellenwood area near our landfill? Okay. How many of you in here, by a show of hands, actually compost? Okay. I need you, when you return next year, I need to see every hand in this room go up. And I say that because, you know, and Director Hutchinson, you can speak to this as well. We need to learn that what comes from the earth should go back to the earth. You should never put fruits, vegetables, meats, these are things that should not go into a trash can. And, you know, we battle with remediating odor over there. And what we find is that we have a lot of folk that discard those fruits and vegetables, and it creates a substance. Is it called leachate?
So the water that, yes, it's called leachate.
Okay.
The rainwater that.
And, you know, this is how we literally, how many of you in here, my mother used to fancy herself on making wine. My uncle grew grapes. And if you have ever smelled the substance, that leachate that is produced, it literally, it's like a methane gas, and that's literally what can be harvested. So to create it, but it also emits an odor. And to reduce those odors, if you would just learn to compost, and it doesn't have to be fancy compost. And I'm going to tell you now, my property abuts to a wooded area. I'm sure onions are growing out there and everything you can imagine, because I just take it all and I just throw it out there. So you don't have to do it in an organized way, but do not discard those types of items in your trash can, because it creates secondary problems for us.
Yes, thank you, Madam CEO. So before I wrap up, this is how to get in touch with us. My team, some of my team members here today, if you're interested in marching into spring and doing cleanup events, spring and summer, you could get supplies. You go to our website, KDB at DeKalb County GA. If you want partnerships with us, we welcome the opportunity. And I have two awesome special projects coordinators that are here today. But we just created this new email. It's called Beautify at DeKalbCountyGA.gov. And then we have a call center. I have an awesome team that answers our calls. Miss Danielle Brown and, oh, thank you, giving her a shout out, okay. Miss Danielle Brown and Miss Michelle Ware. Our call center is open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. But we're here. Stay connected with us. We encourage you to partner with us. And before I close, I just want to go over a couple things for sanitation. The summer is coming. So what the summer is coming mean everybody's going to be home, kids going to be home, possibly some more cars on the streets. Sanitation trucks need clear access. Do not try to time us, please. When it's July and it's 100 degrees outside, we start really early. Put your trash can out the night before. Okay? Because the crews get in earlier during the summer months. We're pulling out at 7 or 6:45. If you're used to us coming at 9, we may be there at 7:30. So pull your roll carts out at night, but your roll carts need to be at the curb by 7 a.m. And thank you in advance to everyone that come out and greet the crews with water and Powerade. The guys, the ladies, they appreciate that so much. We give out beverages in the summertime to our employees because we know it's a job. It's a hot job. And you on that truck in the summertime, it's hot. But keep in mind that we cannot get down the street if we don't have clear access. If we're coming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I know sometimes we don't know our neighbors, but those neighbors' cars, they need to be moved because the trucks are big trucks. We can't squeeze between, so we got to turn around, and that's going to be a miss. So please encourage everyone to make sure and have the cars in the driveways. Bulky items. We know spring come around. Everybody like to do spring cleaning. Visit our sanitation website. Go to the website, put in your bulky porter request. We have a team that does this 5 days a week. Now, not all bulky items are considered in your sanitation fee. Some items you have to pay for. But we will send you an email and a payment link to handle that. It is our goal to get that picked up. Okay, and my last thing is that there is some things that you want to recycle that may not be a part of the sanitation program. The county got a new partnership with Charm. Charm is located off Columbia Drive. I think it's Columbia and Memorial. Okay, Charm is there. Nice facility, clean facility. I mean, because not everything goes into the recycling bin. But go visit Charm. Charm is available, and that's another opportunity for residents to stay involved to make sure trying to keep the county clean also. And again, I am Tracy Hutchinson, the Director of Sanitation, the hardest working department in the county. So, and before I leave, I do want to introduce my team, though. Can y'all stand up? We got Karita and Shakita. Those are my special projects coordinator. I want to recognize Thanielle Brown. She's a part of my call center. And then, of course, I have an awesome management team. I'm the resource for getting it done. I don't take credit for a lot of this work. I'm the resource for helping them get it done. And one of my best superintendents, Ricky Crockett, he manages beautification. So he's here. And I will be around for questions and answers. But again, thank you so much for coming out and attending this morning. And I hope this information was relevant and important to you. But please, if there's anything that we can do to assist, please contact us.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Timothy Hardy. My official title is Deputy Director of Code Compliance for DeKalb. First slide here, just want to let everyone know that we have a new home now. We were over on Candler Road for a long time. We're now at the Government Services Center, which is 180 Sam Street. If you come to the right side of the building, all the way in the back, there's a huge sign that says DeKalb County Code Compliance. So that's where you can find us. The address is here on the screen, as well as the main numbers. Thanks for that. Next slide, please. So code compliance, let's talk about exactly what we do. We are the primary agency for enforcement of regulatory compliance as it relates to private property. We enforce zoning regulations, property maintenance regulations, permitting, housing codes, some of the sanitation regulations we also enforce. So there's a whole gamut of regulatory enforcement that DeKalb County Code Compliance handles. And I would tell you that's quite different from some of the other municipalities local. Most of them either enforce one or the other, the zoning or the property maintenance. DeKalb County Code Compliance officers, we enforce it all. One of the responsibilities, of course, is for the residential properties in DeKalb, but remember, we also handle the commercial properties as well, some of the industrial properties, a lot of the office and industrial type properties. So DeKalb County Code Compliance Administration, we use a comprehensive approach to promote healthy and safety communities in unincorporated DeKalb. And that distinction is very important again. Only in unincorporated DeKalb do we have authority to enforce. We get a lot of calls sometimes from the cities, and we have to then refer those callers or those reporting parties to those cities. Sometimes it's not pleasant because folks feel like they're being pushed to another person. But in reality, DeKalb County Code Compliance does not have authority within those cities, so it wouldn't be appropriate to address any of those requests. Next slide. So special operation initiatives. This is very important because what we get a lot is, what type of proactive compliance or proactive enforcement does DeKalb have? One of our primary ones, and we'll go through several of them, one is the hotel motel initiative. As you know, DeKalb has a high number of extended stay type motels. We typically have a sweep schedule for those motels, which is twice a month. We partner with our police department, our police department, our fire department, and our health department, and sometimes our building inspectors. We routinely go through all of those hotel motels that are on our list. We're looking at everything from exterior property areas, parking lots, interior rooms, anything related to health and safety or maintenance. And that's a pretty big job because it takes a lot of coordination with the other agencies. But we routinely have those inspections twice a month. Also, we have the multifamily. These are your apartments. I mean, DeKalb has a huge number of multifamily living areas. We, again, partner with all of the people I mentioned, health department, fire department, police is usually there to provide us cover to make sure our officers are safe. And we go through every building that's there on those apartment complexes. We look at all of the exterior compliance requirements. And then we also receive calls for multifamily where we look at interior parts of it. That's everything from your interior walls, your floors, any plumbing or electrical components that you may have that are not working properly. We make those type of inspections on a routine basis. Next is our nuisance abatement complaints. That's what we were talking about earlier, where we have properties that we don't get any traction on. We can't find the owners, or the owners just won't comply. Those properties are then referred to our nuisance abatement team. They prepare the files for the law department, and that requires a title search, some additional inspections, certified letters. All of this has to be done before we actually send that file to the law department. Thus, it is a very lengthy process. We would certainly like to shorten that process, but that's where we are now. Another point Ms. Hutchinson mentioned earlier about maintenance lots or abatement lots. Anytime we abate or demolish a property, that lot or that property is then placed on a maintenance list. So a lot of the mowing and maintenance that the contractors that Ms. Hutchinson hires, they're maintaining those same lots that we've abated and demolished. So that can become very costly as well. A law department typically will take anywhere from 30 to 90 days to prepare the file. Once the file is prepared, they file it in the magistrate court. They have to meet certain requirements as well, as far as mailings and publications. They have to run it within in the local paper. Usually we run ours in the Champion. So it takes a while again for those court dates to actually come around. So now you're probably looking at anywhere from 6 to 9 months, and it'll probably extend even farther because there are usually resets. There is sometimes some agreements between attorneys. If there's no one that shows up, that might shorten the process just a little, but again, it's a very lengthy process. And then on the back end, once we get an order, the court requires us to post that order on the property within 3 days of filing and at least 14 days prior to the hearing. So now we've probably visited that property no less than 10 times. So that's why the process can take a while. What I mentioned earlier about interior code compliance, all apartments are required to hire a third-party inspector, have that inspector inspect at least 20% of their units, and certify that those units meet the minimum standards for DeKalb County property maintenance. Those inspectors have to meet a certain criteria to actually get on that list. But the key part of that is if the apartment complex does not meet that requirement, if they don't give us the 30 to 20%, then they won't be able to get their business license during the next renewal cycle. So that's really a key component. We can kind of control their inspection schedule and how they maintain their units. And of course, if that maintenance doesn't happen, that code compliance certificate is not issued. We issue the certificate, we actually upload it to our business license department, and then the business license division will issue their business license, assuming they have that certificate. Next slide, please. Foreclosure, vacant property. If you have a vacant property in DeKalb County, you are required to register that property. You have 90 days if it stays vacant. The requirement to register is a written ordinance. It'll cost you $100 the first time around, and as long as that property remains compliant and it doesn't become open and accessible, you won't have to pay that $100 again. One of the key components there is having a local contact that we can reach out to whenever we have problems on those vacant properties. And of course, if it's non-compliant and we have to start the enforcement action, then you're facing up to $1,000 per day per violation. Another key proactive enforcement component is our commercial quarter enforcement. This team was created in the late 2019. And what we do is we routinely sweep some of the major commercial quarters within DeKalb County. Typically, we're sweeping those about 4 times a month. This is a list of all of those primary quarters. You have area 1 through 4. As you can see, it's countywide. We don't restrict our enforcement action to one particular area. But again, these inspections have to be coordinated with all of those other agencies that we mentioned. So we have to make sure that the police are there. We have to make sure that fire is there. The health department is a real key part of this because a lot of these are restaurants or food service locations. And then sometimes our team will do what we call late night inspections. Usually it's going to be on a Friday or Saturday night. We team with our planning division, and we're primarily looking at illegal service of alcohol or restaurants that are staying open past the allotted time and still serving alcohol. So there are a lot of inspection activities that people just don't know about that we're doing. We typically won't announce those because we want it to kind of be a surprise. We'll usually get a tip from a citizen like you guys that the restaurant behind you is very noisy at 1 in the morning, and we discovered that the restaurant should have been closed at 12:30. So that's an important part of our inspection. So let's talk about open storage elimination. Open storage is the #1 violation that we come across year-round. And some of the things we can do to do that is maintain a vacant lot. If you have a vacant lot or you know of a vacant lot, if you mow it regularly and keep it up, it doesn't become an attractive place for dumping. So that's always helpful. If at night, if you increase the lighting or signage around the area, that'll usually, keep some of the would-be dumpers away. You can install barriers or fencing. We get questions quite often from private property owners that they want DeKalb County to come out and install a barrier at their property because someone's dumping. Well, if it's private property, DeKalb County just does not have the authority to do that. Usually you'll see barriers in certain locations, public right-of-ways, some of the off the beaten path streets that are closed at the end. County has the authority to place barriers there, but not on private property. But of course, you can, assume that responsibility yourself and put the barriers out there. Publicly owned spaces. It's usually a good idea to have some type of art or some presence there that lets folks know that somebody's maintaining this property, somebody's keeping an eye on it, they're monitoring it. That will usually, dissuade some of the would-be dumpers as well. And earlier I heard Director Hutchinson said, see something, say something. If you have areas in your community that tend to be an attractive dump site and you see something happening out there, please report it. Because usually if we get involved, then our enforcement action is against the property owner, because we're not there when the deed happens. We're not there when somebody backs a truck up and throws out all of their tires. So when we get involved, we're looking at the property owner. We have to start the enforcement action or the compliance action by issuing a notice or sometimes even a citation, because those tires, of course, can become an attractive nuisance. But if we can get some information on the dumpers, police can usually get involved and make an arrest. So these are the 7 deadly sins that Madam CEO mentioned earlier. For us, it's just our most commonly found violations. We'll start with high weeds and grass. It's April now. The grass will be growing probably until the end of September. That'll be our highest call-generated reported violations for those months. Parking on unpaved surface. Some folks think it's okay to park on the grass. Well, it's not, because if you continue to park on the grass, it won't be grass for long. It's going to be dirt, and then you're going to bring that dirt onto the public streets, and it's going to wash into our stormwater system. Vehicle repairs. We get many calls about the local mechanic in the neighborhood that wants to repair his vehicle and everybody else's vehicle that he knows. Sometimes, he's nice enough to repair the neighbor's vehicle, but there's always going to be that one neighbor that's just annoyed with it. Well, the truth of the matter is it's a code violation. So please, when you see that, report it. Vacant structures. Anytime you see a structure that's open and accessible and no one lives there, please give us a call, because that means that there's now a highly hazardous condition that exists in your community. And that's usually on our top of our priority list for inspections. And we may not start that process with the notice. Sometimes we will, but if it's an egregious act and we tend to visit that location quite often, then we'll usually issue a citation immediately or eventually move it to our interim abatement process. Open storage, as I just remembered, that's just the trash that's outside. Some folks will place indoor furniture outside and think it's okay, but it's not. So you can't put the couch that you're tired of sitting on in the living room outside in your yard. But most of it's going to be trash or just items that you can't fit anywhere else. And if it's visible, it's going to be a violation, and we're going to visit you. Inoperable vehicles. Any vehicle that's parked on your property that does not have current tag, decal, and registration is a violation of the DeKalb County ordinance. Must have current tag, decal, and current tag, decal, and registration. Can't have any flat tires. Can't be missing any part of the powertrain. So that vehicle that's been sitting in your driveway that you're saving for your son when he turns 16, when he's only 9, we're going to be visiting you quite often if you don't continue to register it as required. Parking business vehicles in a residential community, that's a no-no. Can't bring your box truck, you can't bring your U-Haul or the cab for your 18-wheeler. Any of those vehicles that are parked in residential neighborhoods are a clear violation of the code. Next slide, they're telling me I only have 2 minutes. Monthly sweeps, residential teams, we typically conduct about 1 sweep a quarter. This is relatively new. We usually will get around 800 so complaints a month, but my staff has agreed to roll their sleeves up, and we will start doing residential sweeps, 1 per quarter. We've already started some in 2025, so you may have seen some of the people in your neighborhood. I'll get you a question. Just give me a second, and I'll get it. Okay. Commercial quarter teams, we conduct, again, 3 street sweeps a month, and then you have your multi-family and your hotel motel. Next slide. This is where you contact us. This is our website. This is just a list of contact for DeKalb County agencies that you may or may not have a need to reach out to. I have some of my team that's here in the audience. I certainly appreciate you guys coming out to support. Now I'll yield to Mr. COO, Zach Williams. Thanks.
Yes, and also, yeah, let's give a round of applause. Director Hardy and I literally came at the same time. And one of the, well, we have a few initiatives and conversations that we've had, but currently, you know, the wide belief is that sanitation is responsive. But what we are discussing now is creating blocks, almost like precincts, like our police officers has. Everyone has their block, and going to a proactive model. And, you know, I have to be sensitive here because, to be honest, even when you have a Brandon Hills, DeKalb County shares in that. Because if we had been proactive on code compliance and enforcement, we wouldn't be here. So even as we drive down streets in communities, what I see is that we are not citing people, but there has to be a careful balance because some people aren't able. But given time, a lack of care becomes blight and derelict. So you are going to see us begin coming into communities because in some instances, particularly I think some of our older communities, they're very vulnerable. And we are seeing, of course, shutters, you know, the need for paint. So we're actively discussing a program we can better help you to take care of your homes when there is a need and there is a desire, but not the resources. So just expect us to report back on the final requirements for those programs, and that will allow us to help you because at the end of the day, as a homeowner, you simply have responsibilities. And you can't sit there and allow your home to deteriorate and fall apart because it has an effect on your neighbors, property values, and also crime. And at this time, we have our Chief Operating Officer who's always responsible for coming up with the money and figuring it out once I have a notion. Zach Williams.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam CEO. And thank you, everyone. It's definitely my pleasure to be here as the Chief Operating Officer, as the CEO just articulated. And I think it's important to thank the CEO not only for her presence and support, but her visionary leadership. With that leadership, it will continue to inspire progress towards a cleaner and greener DeKalb County. Recognize my fellow panelists, Directors Hutchinson and Hardy, for the work that they do day in and day out. And just a reminder, today's discussion, it's really about connecting the key personnel with the customers that we serve, education, articulating new programs and existing programs. There may be some things that you are generally aware of, but we have specific information for you today to talk about empowerment, how you can become involved directly in assuring that we have a cleaner, greener DeKalb County. One of the key things we recognize is the one business that we are really in as a government is the quality of life business. It comes in a lot of different forms and fashions. It may come in law enforcement. It may come in sanitation code enforcement. It may come in building codes and so forth. But it's really the underlying quality of life business. And the covenant that we have with you, you pay taxes, you pay fees, and we assist in creating an environment for you to live, work, and play, and raise a family. Today's conversation, we kind of touched on some of the elements of the quality of life, but something else that I was thinking as the speakers were talking, we're also in the business, especially in this area, helping deal with a state of mind. So we can all picture those homes or those businesses that are run down, dilapidated, and when we come home and we have to drive by that, or when we're going off to work and we drive by that, that creates a certain state of mind. And we get it. And so we do have, not only the county, but collectively, we have a collective responsibility to address those eyesores, quite frankly, that not only affect our quality of life, but can also affect our state of mind. Ms. Hutchinson talked about some key elements and initiatives of the Beautification Unit, the Rain Barrel Workshop, how that can assist not only in being more environmentally conscious, but saving money on your water bill. Adopt a Mile program, how citizens can get involved. Composting, and the CEO also emphasized how composting can assist us in keeping down odors. The more people who compost keep down odors at Seminole landfill. And the upcoming Community Beautification Program, which will allow those eligible persons to get assistance in maintaining their yard, because we recognize that in some instances it's not enough to say you need to do this if people don't have the means. So that program will be tremendously helpful. In code compliance, the corridor sweeps, elimination of open storage. Mr. Hardy also talked about what is characterized as the 7 deadly sins, or those primary code violations that really impact the community and are seen most frequent, and proactive community compliance. And that really speaks to the corridor sweeps, the multifamily task forces that are aimed at dilapidated, rundown, extended stay hotels, apartment complexes, not only that are code violations, but in many instances, crime and other activities emanate from them. So to the extent that we stay hands-on and engaged in many of those, we're able to address other issues. Those task forces Mr. Hardy mentioned include law enforcement, include the health department, include code enforcement, of course. So a multitude of agencies that can go in and take a look at these facilities from different perspectives. I also want to thank each of the departments who are here outside, not only beautification and code that is inside, but recreation, parks, cultural affairs, human resources, human services, watershed management. Those are departments with tables outside and emphasis added as it relates to human resources. We're actively hiring in certain key positions. Police officers, we are always hiring, but there's a whole host of positions that we're hiring for that it's important for you to check in and share with friends or family members. Human Services Department, there's opportunity to sign up for whether it's Meals on Wheels or other programs. And Watershed Management has a whole host of ways that you can save on your water bill and different initiatives, low flow faucets and the like. How can residents get involved? Here's a list of numbers that were, addresses and phone numbers that were discussed earlier, whether it's the beautification information, having someone come out to an HOA meeting. That's something that can be done, getting supplies for scheduling cleanups. So all of that information is listed here. Additionally, the CEO mentioned disrupting the cycle. That's a critical component. What we can do together is disrupt the cycle. There are many instances that we see where people are littering or simply ignoring their responsibility as part of the community. And we do need to report that. We need to work together to help to eradicate that. What the CEO talked about in terms of the saving, imagine what we could save if we didn't spend a couple $1 million a year on picking up trash, quite frankly. Last week, the CEO, or the week before, issued an executive order dealing with cost containment. Understand that DeKalb County is just like any other business, right? Our business is service, our business is quality of life, but we have responsibility to pay bills for personnel, for lighting and so forth, insurance, all of those things. But we also have a responsibility for picking up trash. Many communities don't have a couple $1 million a year is being spent on picking up trash. I think to the extent we can find ways to work together to eradicate a lot of the litter, we can greatly reduce those costs. And imagine putting that same money into parks. Imagine putting that same money into senior centers. Because it's one pot, and we spend it based on the most critical needs. Our challenge is to find ways together to reduce unnecessary spend and spend it on those most critical functions, and that's what we'll be doing in the upcoming year. Potholes, exactly. We can find a whole host of other ways to spend the money. We agree 1,000%. So that concludes my wrap-up. I would like to hand the microphone back to the CEO, who will facilitate questions and answers. And Amaris is coming down the aisle. She's picking up everyone's questions. So please raise your hand if you have one of the cards. Amaris and JP will be happy to pick it up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Hopefully, the conversation that we've had here today has been meaningful. And each one of you going back out into the community, if necessary, reaching out to our office. If there is a particular home where there is help needed, make us aware so that we can come together and give help. We have done events on a Saturday morning where we get started at 8 o'clock, and I've seen neighbors driving up on the commercial lawnmowers, sitting on top of them, and we literally have that house transformed in a matter of 2 to 3 hours working together. And that's the key word here, is us working together. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And the first question is, what are we doing about split pad rentals in our community? It's out of control. The proper word is pad split communities, and pad splits are illegal. If you find that there is a pad split in your community, I want you guys to use a wonderful tool, and it's called email. And it helps me so much because if you call, we have to write the information. But if you will simply send us an email or call us with the exact location that you believe to be a pad split. Now, one of the things as Director Hutchinson was speaking, when she talked about pulling up and there's 4 or 5 of these sitting outside, this is the kind of thing that I say disrupts order, pad splits. First of all, they're illegal. Now, for those of you who are listening who may not understand what a pad split is, it is when investors go into communities and often purchase a residential home, single-family residential. They then go in and often place a keypad on each door. And if there's 5 bedrooms, it becomes a 5-bedroom rental, a boarding house of sorts. And that is what we do not want, and they are not permitted in our community. So oftentimes, working with code enforcement, we have to visit. And feel free, I want this to be interactive, Director Hardy, if you have anything to say. In some instances, they don't deny it, in others, they lie. And that becomes more problematic for us. And Director Hardy, can you share, the process that we go through for proving and sending the cease and desist and such?
Yeah, certainly. So with the pad splits, as Madam CEO mentioned, it's typically a single-family dwelling. and it's a clear violation of the zoning code for permitted uses. When you have a single-family dwelling, you're not permitted to use it for anything other than that. Anytime you have more than 3 unrelated people living in one single-family dwelling, then you're in violation of the zoning code. What I will say to community members is the key to getting in front of this kind of thing is usually when the investors purchase these properties, there's gonna be some level of renovation. They're gonna go in and try to add some rooms. They're gonna take the garage, convert it maybe into a couple of rooms. They'll take the living room and convert it into a couple of rooms. Usually these folks don't pull permits. So if you see that kind of activity in your neighborhood and you don't see any permits, please give us a call. Because it's always better to catch them at that point than to allow them to complete the renovations and then they're up and running and they don't really have to let us in. We try to gain entry in most instances. Now, we probably have 10 to 15 cases that are actually pending in DeKalb County Magistrate Court at the state court level. Usually the defendants choose to have some type of trial. As Madam CEO mentioned, PASPLITs initially wanted this to be some affordable housing type platform. They came to a couple of the commissioners to try to get that moving. Once we realized that it was a clear violation of the zoning code, it was kind of abandoned, but they didn't abandon it. They continued that effort. Now they've pretty much changed their approach a bit, and usually it's the property owner that we're dealing with because the PASPLIT operators no longer, I guess, want to litigate. But there is some pending litigation. We've had some of them in court. I dare to say that the fine levels were probably not enough to dissuade them. There were a couple of instances where the court.
I'm sorry. Would that, I don't mean to be rude, would that apply, because we have somebody that took a single family home, he's made apartment A and apartment B. Would that apply to this PASPLIT? Because everybody's not going to be living in the same unit. Made apartment A and apartment B got a single family house.
So that's a violation of zoning. It may not be on the PASPLIT platform, but you can't take a single-family dwelling and turn it into a two-family dwelling. There are zoning districts that clearly tell you what you can use these properties for. If it was a single-family home and now it's a two-family home and there hadn't been any approval or permits or any kind of zoning modification, then yes, that's a violation of the code.
Now, let me say, had that person applied for a SLUP, a special land use permit, presented themselves to the 7 commissioners, it would have been at their discretion to allow them to have a change for that property. But I will say that overall, as a former commissioner, you look down upon that because some people use the term spot zoning. You don't want to have a whole community of residential properties and then one zone in that manner. So I would venture to say that that wouldn't be anything that's successful, but that is also not permitted. And
Online to find out if they pulled the permit for that?
I want you to send an email of the street address and allow us to do our job. You don't have to go to the, level of pulling documents. We can do that. Just send an address and simply ask, is this property, does it have the proper designation to operate as a 2-unit rental? And we can pull it and determine. I'm going to keep going because I want to get to as many questions as possible. And this question, I just sat here and responded to someone this morning. Why doesn't the county address roads that are in desperate need of repair, restriping, resurfacing, etc.? In terms of road resurfacing, every year at the top of the year, DeKalb County has 2,200 miles of highway. We have a company that goes out and grades those roads. Those gradings started, I believe, in 2017 or 18 because it runs pretty much concurrent when we passed our first special purpose local option sales tax that y'all refer to as SPLOST. Now, SPLOST was enabled under the Gold Dome in 1985. However, DeKalb County was the last of the major municipalities or governmental organizations in Georgia to show up for it. Gwinnett has operated a SPLOST program for over 30 years. Ours, through referendum, was approved in 2017. In 2018, I believe, was it 2018 or 19 when we began the road resurfacing from SPLOST COO Williams?
I believe it was 19.
Okay, so 2019. Now, what does that mean to you? It means for about 3 decades in DeKalb County, you didn't see roads being resurfaced. Now, if you live in South and unincorporated DeKalb, you will not sit there and tell me that you do not see now that we are actively resurfacing. Because since we implemented SPLOST and went to a grading system, because prior to that, the DeKalb County Board of Commissioners determined what roads were resurfaced. But after instituting a system where grades were assigned, the higher the grade, the worse the road condition. Once the roads are graded, we then go directly to that list, and based on the current amount of money we receive from SPLOST, we're able to resurface an average of about 120 miles of road per year. Now, we also receive LMIG funds, and that enables us to resurface anywhere around 20 to 25 miles of road. But for many years, for decades, DeKalb County plain and simply didn't have dedicated funds that we utilize towards road resurfacing, so we're behind. So when you write us and say, you know, when are you coming to resurface my road? If you go to DeKalb County's website and you click on Joe Penny, it's a penny with a hat on, that will take you to our road resurfacing map. And you can type in any street and it will tell you whether or not you're approved for this cycle of resurfacing. That is our holy grail for resurfacing. Now, as it relates to, because this card also addresses potholes. If you have a pothole, I can't account for everyone. But if you've sent me an email, I got someone out there to repair it. Oftentimes, I don't know you have a pothole. I don't drive down your road. So the one thing I want you to do is not go to Nextdoor and Facebook and talk about the pothole. Potholes need... You go to Church for Salvation, you come to DeKalb County to fix the pothole. So simply call the office. If you don't want to send an email, pick up the phone. Don't you have flyers, JP, with our number on it? That's what you focus on today. You're going to make sure everyone here has a flyer that has our email and our phone number. And you tell us about that pothole, and we'll put it on the pothole list. And believe me, help will be on the way. We'll get out there and repair that pothole. The county and residential neighborhoods are being overrun by TT trucks, tractor trailer trucks. What can be done? Tractor trailer trucks, there's laws that govern what roads they should be on. So if you find that they aren't abiding, get a tag number and report them. Okay. And this one, good day, CEO. When can we anticipate more police officers? Please advise if there are any more beautification grants for our community. Okay, there you go. You told on yourself. Thank you, because I couldn't read it. Well, let me say to you that last month, DeKalb County held the most successful police recruiting event, and I'm told, in a decade. Okay? It took place at Toby Grant Community Center, and we had a total of 89 potential officers show up. Now, for those of you who watch, the BOC meetings and so forth, I believe it may have been right about the end of January, I truly made DeKalb County police officers arguably the highest right there at the top in terms of pay in the state of Georgia, okay? And I want to be clear, that was really important because DeKalb County, as well as Fulton County, City of Atlanta, we go back and forth for having the highest amount of violent crime. And I want to be clear that if you look at all categories of crime, I believe there's 13, we were down in all except 2. So crime overall is going down, but with the economy and things that I see, let's not clap, let's pray that we don't see a turn in that. Because, you know, in times of desperation and need, that is when people turn to illicit and undesirable activity. And with the loss of jobs that you're seeing, you know, in the federal realm, these are people that are considered by all intents and purposes middle class. So I'm concerned about some of the things I see. But we did create wonderful incentives. 89 came out that day. We were able to successfully move forward a total of 48 who passed background checks, the physical and agility test. Also, there is a mental health screening that goes into being moved forward as a police officer. And with that said, that will be our largest recruiting class that DeKalb has seen in well over a decade. Recently, last month, I had the honor of attending a graduate class of 6, and those were some of the finest young folk, really looked like my children. But nonetheless, they're dedicated. So we continue to look for good officers, but I want to be clear, it is a 26-week program before that person will actually become an officer. So I want you to do the math there. How many months is that? So I'm 6 months away from adding that 50, if you understand what I'm saying to you. So I need y'all to know that this is going to take me time. It's a process because we were down to, I believe, 585 officers when I walked in the door. And that was from previously in 2019 having over 1,100. So it's going to take time, but I want you to raise your hand if you are already seeing more visible police patrolling in your community. Okay, I'm happy to hear that because that is what I'm seeing. As a part of my strategy related to policing, I sat down with and re-engaged and recommitted to Georgia State Patrol. How many of you have seen Georgia State Patrol on Candler Road recently? And on Wesley Chapel. And I'm telling you, we have the lawless shook. We now have young folk on social media saying DeKalb has gotten some new police wearing cowboy hats. One said, what are they doing over here? My grandmother has lived on Candler Road for 20 years. I've never seen the GSP. They need to go back to Cobb, Gwinnett, Henry. Well, I'm here to tell you, no, they're staying in DeKalb County. I'm not sure if you all saw an article, because I believe it may have been April 1st, where DeKalb County had its first and most successful dismantling of a street racing operation. Did y'all see that? Okay. I'm putting them on notice. We have infiltrated their communication system. From now on, we'll be at the street race before they get there. Okay? I want you to know that we have infiltrated that. We were successful in, that day we actually arrested 11. We impounded 10 cars. 4 of the 11 that we arrested had outstanding warrants. And we were able to retrieve multiple firearms. So I'm here to tell you, don't bring it down here. In the words of those who have taken to social media, it's too much heat in East Atlanta. That's what they call DeKalb. It's going to be even more heat. And when we get you, I don't want us to let you go. Because my officers have been clear. The vast amount of crimes are committed by a small group of people who keep getting out. We're not going to do that with you anymore. So do expect to see enhanced, patrol, because I did speak with Chief Patrick, and we identified the areas with the highest incidence of crime. And I have asked for dedicated officers along Wesley Chapel, along Candler, and certain parts and portions of Columbia Drive. So just bear with us because we didn't get here overnight, but we're working hard to change it. How long should we wait? Thank you. How long should we wait to have county-owned detention ponds clean? Now, I have to ask, have you already reported the condition? Okay. Once it is reported, it then goes to Roads and Drainage Director Peggy Allen. And I would say honestly, and COO Williams, feel free to chime in, as it relates to detention ponds, believe it or not, we have 5,500, and I believe on an annual basis, it's our intent to clean 500, but I'm not sure there was always a system in place. I truly believe that that system probably started about 3 years ago when we continued to have requests and concerns expressed, but it could have been. I will not say that it was. But if you have a detention pond that is in immediate need of assistance, please send it to us. And generally, I believe she's usually able to get to them within about a 3-month period, 2 to 3, COO Williams.
But Madam CEO, I don't know that it's that quick, but if you can get it to us, and we prioritize, just like anything else, which ones we're going to get to. But you're absolutely right. The system in any meaningful way didn't really get implemented till about 3 years ago when we did the last rate increase in stormwater. But we now have 4 contractors on board as well as our own crews who are dedicated to doing retention ponds. So if we can get the information, we can see how quickly we can get there. But it will probably be more in the, well, it depends how bad it is and what the downstream impacts would be, but it would probably be more to the 3 to 6 months. But if you just send us the information, we'll figure it out. What?
Oh, grants. Let me say that if and when there are grants available for beautification, they will go in our newsletter. To my knowledge, there are none that are available at this time. And I want to be clear, for the past 4 years, DeKalb County received over $275 million as a result of CARES and ARPA, American Rescue Plan funds. That money is gone. Many of the grants and community efforts, you may have noticed that, over the past several years, we would give notification that we were issuing 1,000 or 500 food boxes at churches. We don't have food box money anymore. And not only do we not have food box money anymore, we have a volatile federal government at the moment. So we wake up, and right now this is all about litigation. We wake up, and when certain funds are frozen, it has a direct impact on us. But then a judge says, well, you can't do it, and it remains in court. So I'm being extremely cautious right now with every dime we spend, because I want to be clear, our Community Development Department and Human Services is funded almost 90% through federal and state funds. Those are the divisions that help our unhoused and homeless. Those are the divisions that are responsible for serving over 500 meals per day through our Meals on Wheels program. You can't not help the most vulnerable people. So when we have resources, we have to shift first to the priority. So if you haven't received our newsletter, JP, that's your job too. Okay, make sure you sign up on the way out if you don't have it. So you're welcome. Now this one is, can code enforcement encourage/make a county resident remove paint from the public sidewalk or their driveway? If it's considered open storage, send us the street address, and make sure you pick up my card because it has the department phone numbers. Call, give the address, and let us go out and take a look at it, okay? Next, please explain a little more what's involved in composting. Okay, Director Hutchinson, I don't know that I'm the compost queen. For me to tell you what composting is, I open my back door and I walk down the back steps and I throw it as hard as I can out there in the nature because nobody cares. Got some happy chipmunks and squirrels and whatever goes back there. But if you want to be organized with it, I'm going to defer to Director Hutchinson.
So composting, if you want to start at your house, it's very simple. Take your food debris. You could put it in the refrigerator, bag it up, or you could do it daily. I mean, you could do it anytime, bag it up, go outside. You really need a drum, something old, maybe some type of 55-gallon drum, because you want to be able to turn it. So you want to take the food debris, get some leaves, rake up the leaves in your yard, put them in there. You want to start turning it every so often. So basically, and you could add, you could add, various, you could add dirt in there also. You're gonna need some dirt. Well, Zach is the farmer. I'm sorry, CEO Williams is the farmer here too. So me and my daughter had a little garden, so we used to compost ourselves. And so that was, like a mom-daughter thing that we did in our yard. But it's easy to do. A little bit of work involved with it, but it's easy. But if you get all your food material, we used to bag it up. Like get a Ziploc bag, anything we had, take it outside. You need leaves, that's your additives. Your additives is debris, yard debris. That's your additives.
And let
It
me
needs to be
also
small.
say, Director Hutchinson, I had purchased a property once from a woman that was a master gardener, and she literally had what looked like chicken wire.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be fancy, and it had leaves, and that was the compost station. And you just take it out there, throw it in, and turn it around ever so often. And when I would plant my plants each year, we go out there, and that was the soil we used, and it was very rich, and it does help with growth. So what I will do, and we'll add this to the list for Deanna, we'll do a special edition newsletter on composting.
Yes, I could create all the points that's involved with it. I mean, it's not that difficult. If you want to do it at your home, it's an easy. Well, yes and no.
Well, and that's why we're going to make sure we put chicken wire around it. Okay, you're going to you got to contain it some kind of way.
Put it in a barrel. Put it in a barrel and contain it. And then no chicken, no discarded meat. You're right, no plastic. I'm sorry. Okay, there you go. Got some folks got some neighbors right behind you.
And also let me say, because this is really important, most of you need to, well, she's not open on Saturdays. How many of you have been to my youth farm? That's my youth farm. That's my retirement plan on Highway 124. Yes. We took the old YMCA, and if you pass it now, you'll see a beautiful greenhouse down there, raised garden beds. We have a central office. You can go there and receive as many seeds as you want. I have a program with Home Depot, and they give me about 500 seeds per month. You can grow everything from arugula to, we call them bougie flowers, edible plants, squash, corn, peas, watermelon, carrots. We have it all. Now, round 2 of that, we're going into hydroponics. So we'll begin hydroponic growing, but everything there is absolutely free, and we'll give you the growing chart for that. And that is, JP, what's the address? Leo, somebody. I just know how to get there. But it's down Highway 124. It's the old YMC. Rock Chapel Road. That's not Rock Chapel Road, JP.
I was going to say, it's across from the Rock Chapel Elementary School.
Yes.
If you're on 124, it's across from there.
JP is right. I stand corrected. JP, I'm sorry. JP knows his job. It is 1185 Rock Chapel Road. 1185 Rock Chapel Road. We have a park naturalist who works there. We also, the Georgia Mushroom Association is housed there. And that is, it's considered Lithonia. That is Lithonia. And if you like growing mushrooms, because some of this stuff can be expensive, you go out there and they will give you a little log of wood that they program with what I don't know. But it just grows mushrooms all year round. So go by there and see her because, you know, it's really important that we be more sustainable. So I think that, okay, who can stop landscapers from blowing lawn clippings, leaves, and debris down the drains? We can. Get the name of the truck, get as much information as you can, and we can stop them, make us aware. Because let me be clear with you, we have sanitary sewer overflow, and the amount of money that we spend on water in DeKalb County, we just bore a 10 by 10 water rate increase. We are expanding capacity, but it's these types of things that are problematic. These lawn companies should not be blowing debris down our stormwater drains. If they do, and you get a tag number or any information, please let us know. Recently reported neighbor who has advertised on Nextdoor for border. Code officer went out and closed case file saying no borders present. Slippery slope is the word for that. Now, each one of you in this room, you have the right, believe it or not, as a property owner, if you chose to take a tenant, you can. But you can't turn your home into a boarding home. That is one of the inherent rights. So I don't know if there's some adverse conditions, because usually that's the first sign that something is awry. But please feel free to reach out again to us. Thank you all for the work you do. We appreciate that on behalf of the DeKalb County citizens. And they didn't have nothing else to say. Thank you for that. Thank you. Code compliance courts, is there a plan to hold the courts and judges accountable for repeated violations, make fees higher, liens on homes and businesses? I love this question, whoever Stokes is. And I say that because, you know, we don't have control over the judges and how they choose to administer justice and adjudicate a case. But feel free, you know, to send them a note. Because we do have to be in unison. I've had officers explain to me when I was trying to get to the problem of tell me what I can do. I want to help you. And they explained, well, one thing you could do is stop us from arresting the same man twice in one day, and I had to fight him each time to get him in cuffs. Because they go out and they sign a signature bond and they're gone and they're back in the street. So we do have to be more vigilant there, but please feel free to write your judges and share your opinion, because judges are like me. We all serve at your pleasure. Okay. What is the hill/mountain being built on Henrico Road? Is it a new landfill in Ellenwood? Henrico Road. I am not sure of any development on Henrico Road, so I will put a question mark on this and keep it. If you care to give JP your email address, then I'll have to determine whether or not there's an LDP, which is a land disturbance permit or anything. Yes, ma'am. Okay, and if you will give JP your email address, we'll have to follow up, because I need to determine if there's an LDP out there, a land disturbance permit. Will the Family Dollar on Flat Shoals close soon? Flat Shoals. Okay. May we get help with the daily loitering in the parking lot of Family Dollar and Empire Package Store? We're talking about right there by the post office, correct? Is that the Family Dollar you're referring to, Flat Shoals? Flat Shoals Parkway. Oh, by Sonic. Okay, this is a different one. To be honest, I'm not aware of whether or not it's closing. No one has indicated that it is to me, so I don't want to stand here and say that they are. When there are issues with loitering, COO Williams, would the best thing be to call 911? But loitering is a slippery slope. Now it's coming to me, and it's a few things here. Now, I did pass an ordinance at the top of the year, and COO, you can help me with this. Have we signed off on my ordinance that makes it illegal to loiter at areas of high crime like gas and service stations?
Yes, Madam CEO, I believe that was approved by the board 3 meetings ago.
So if that's the case, it would also include Family Dollars, because Family Dollars have amongst the highest incidents of crime and violence. So with that said, it is illegal. You need to call 911 and report loitering. Because what we find is there are people in DeKalb County who wake up in the morning and get dressed to go to the service station. And I want to lock them up. Now, the issue had been I couldn't just have people go and lock them up. I'm being very forthright because it is private property. And how we had handled it previously, if you didn't call and say that loitering was taking place, we took no action. But also I found that, many of our gas and service stations are owned by, immigrant and refugee individuals. And there was a fear of calling because when we would arrive, we would say, we received a call from the owner. But when we leave, often they may dismantle, but they come back and they come back angry. So by passing that ordinance and writing the bill as I did, now you don't have to call me. If we see you standing out there, then we have the right to tell you to go on if you don't have business here. So next thing, more police present, Flat Shoal and Fayetteville Road to Gresham Road. There are several houses on Flat Shoals from Fayetteville Road to I-20 ramp that having been unoccupied for years, will they be torn down soon? Please hold Walmart accountable for their shopping carts leaving the parking lot. Okay. Now, when you refer to these homes that obviously, if you say they need to be torn down, these are what we would consider properties that need abatement. So what you need to do again, today, if nothing else comes out of this, we just entered a partnership. You need to email me the address of these properties. Once I have an address, I can tell all their business. But I can't tell you anything from this card. So send us the street addresses for those homes, and if they haven't already been inspected, if we need to begin an abatement process, we'll do that. And again, I'm working to make the process go faster. Okay, what are we doing about repeat rescinded officers that have been reported and nothing happened? Okay. What are they doing about repeat residents?
Violations that we have been calling in for years, and it come out, they either close the case, the mechanic is still there, the drug dealer is still there, the people with the high grass are still there. And nothing, and you just call, they either close the case or they come out and say, we didn't see what you saw.
Well, Cheryl, and you know that's something when I know you by name. You are not new to this. You know me. Email me, okay? And Amaris Sawyer is here, and many of you interact with Amaris is the new me. They say 40 is the new 30 or whatever. Amaris is the new me because often I'm out, but if you send it, we're going to handle it. And I'm so proud of her because it's very rare you have someone who you trust so well that you'll never know you're not talking to me because I truly have trained her up and she knows how to deal with the issue and get it resolved. Okay, how can we discard old TVs, the big wide screens, etc.? Is there a free pickup? Absolutely. Today, sitting next to Director Hutchinson, we agreed to do our annual bulk item pickup, COO Williams. I included you on the email that I just sent. And I'm asking that we hold it in June and also November. So during that time, if you put out your bulk items, we'll come through and pick them up free of charge. And that way you don't have to pay to take them down to the landfill, okay? Now, and honestly, we only have 3 more cards and we're done. Okay, will you educate DeKalb residents about the benefits to them of adopting the International Property Maintenance Code? I have vacant, and the second question, I have vacant properties in my area. How can I find out if they are on the vacant property registry? Just send us the address. on that. And I'm going to allow Director Hardy, because I remember when he first brought the International Property Maintenance Code for consideration. And it just passed, last year, I believe, or maybe the year before. Time passes so quickly, but go ahead and talk about it.
It was last year. So the International Property Maintenance Code was passed a year ago. But as far as vacant properties, we have a table set up outside. Any of the officers that are there will be happy to take the addresses down on a form, and then we can get back with you as early as Monday to let you know if that property is actually registered. And if it's not registered, then we can, let them know that they need to, particularly if it's been vacant for a while. So we can handle that as early as Monday as long as we have a location.
What about the International Property Maintenance Code, educating us as residents and how that we can use that to help?
Do a video.
So we can maybe put together a video or PowerPoint for the education piece and put it up on our website so where you can actually view it. But it gives us some important tools that we didn't have, particularly with emergency measures. So we can deal with some of the, unsafe conditions that exist without having to actually go through the courts.
Now, Director Hardy, you have my willing workers in here. You have to tell them the whole story, and that's why I deferred to you, because I've read it in that document when it was about 78 pages. I'm a walking wealth of worthless knowledge often, but I want you to handle that one.
It's an comprehensive document. So when we talk about emergency measures, say there's a gas leak or a sewer leak, or maybe a building that has collapsed, and we need to act right away. We don't necessarily have to send that through the MREM program anymore. We can go ahead and act, and then the property owner has 10 days to actually appeal, and that goes through a hearing officer. But we can take action right away if those conditions exist, any of those that I just named. And there may be a few more that I didn't cover, but the emergency measures is part of the International Property Maintenance Code.
And let me say that, as you all speak, I try to be responsive and give you information. We will also do a special edition newsletter on the International Property Codes. And I will also include a link that will take you over to all of our municipal codes so that you have access to them all, because it's really important. And, I look forward to getting to the point where one of the goals, if you read my book, is for us to have a chief education officer. Because when I send you 78 pages, people don't want to read all that. But if we create videos that educate you of the major points and highlight it, that would help. So to Diamond Lewis, I'm not sure if you're still here. Let's congregate on that, and let's work with you, Director Hardy, on the creation of a video that can go out with the International Property Codes as well as municipal codes. So we will address that. Let's see here. And this is blank. Hi.
Presented in our community. That's something I would like to ask you guys, each of you, rude by saying you guys, okay? Just trying to include each of you. To look at and go back over and see if there needs to be some, because it's been there for years, this law, these old laws, and it needs to be looked at. It's horrible what it's doing to Canton, Memorial, all of our major high streets and our community. Terrible. Code sometimes can't even do anything with them by going to the court because they're grandfathered in. And one last thing I'm going to say, I said this to you the last time I saw you, CEO, and I'm going to say it publicly. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Ms. Pace. I appreciate that.
Everything that you're doing, you're on top of it. We do need to work with licensing and permit. That's a mess still. But I know you're trying to get there. I'm not worried about it. I know you're trying to get to everything. But I did want to say that to you publicly, that I'm not the only one. We all are proud of you. Thank you. And you know what? I think you can just about call on anybody anytime you want. They're here to come and help out.
Thank you. And let me say, I'm calling on all of you today, because, you know, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Now, licensing and permitting, let me say that I've heard for years, and I've lived it, I've seen it. You know, in many ways, I've had too many developers say that it's too difficult to do business in DeKalb. And when it becomes difficult, people go where it's easy because no one wants a headache. And we have already interviewed 3 different companies concerning planning and sustainability software, because that's one of the major issues. People plain and simply cannot use Hanson. It's too cumbersome. Again, it's old software. The left doesn't connect with the right. I've sat there with people trying to use it, and they couldn't type the full street name because it's just that problematic. So we have interviewed, and COO Williams always serve as my backup mental thought because I carry so much up here. But we've spoken with Tyler. We've also spoken with Acela and Oracle as possible solutions. And there is another software that was brought to the table because DeKalb does have its first chief development officer by Jacob Vallow, and I believe it's called Sensory or Centuri. And we will be speaking with them on the 20th of this month, and immediately thereafter we'll make a decision on the software, because these are hundreds of thousands of dollars in terms of the investment that we're about to make. And what we need to do is get it right this time, because we put a lot of good money on bad things previously. Things had outlived their utility, but we were going to keep on keeping on. Well, no, we're not. We're going to replace it, and we're getting systems with this system that will also be able to communicate as well with code compliance to determine whether or not people are in code. And, you know, when we talk about grandfathering in, to be honest, and COO, I do want you to speak here. I think people may think that is more prevalent than it is. In my days in DeKalb, I've only run into 3 businesses, and one is here on Candler Road. Now, I don't know why Ken and Chris Package love that sign so, but they had that sign grandfathered. But, you know, that is not a normal thing, COO.
Absolutely, Madam CEO. And that, when the comment was made, I would really love to get the specific addresses, because there may be instances where people are being led to believe that there is a grandfathering in. There even may be a misunderstanding, I'm not sure, by our staff. I don't know. But I would love to see what specific addresses, and then we will investigate and see what, if anything, has actually been grandfathered in. Please. Thank you. Okay. Well, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I think if anybody ever heard about Mr. Mike Habibi, who's doing the city in Southwest Plan, he's been on Channel 2 quite a bit. I know that you've heard of him, right? He was here in DeKalb County a few years ago when I was doing my community. He is a friend of mine. I met him doing my community. He's lived there. And he was involved in helping me to revitalize it. I tried to get DeKalb County then to partner with him and bring him in here. This is something we could have had right here, what they're doing down there. And DeKalb County wasn't open because of the issues and problems that we have in this government that we all, well, I'm not saying we all, I'm not taking responsibility. We're the same people for 25 years, okay? I am going to contact him, CEO, and I'm going to see if there's any way possible I can put you together.
And And what I would ask also is that you come to the meeting, Ms. Pace. So we're going to include you on the email so you can attend the meeting. But I do want to say that I'm very proud of Jacob Vallow and the work that he's doing. In the course of the next few weeks, we're about to announce some honestly transformative things here in DeKalb. Right down to acquisition of certain parcels of land and looking now more towards the creation of a town center or a city or municipal complex that brings us together. So we're kicking the can down the road, and he'll be happy to speak with him. And I have 3 more. Is there a resource available to help senior citizens with cutting down trees that create a danger of falling on their homes? Please send me an email. Or CJP, or get the card and call if you don't do email. How is code a part of homeowners seeking to build additions to home? What are the plans to streamline or lessen the time and red tape in getting approvals to complete buildings? Concerned about timelines, processes, red tape, and scheduling. Actually, the software that I just discussed is going to be integral. But also, I'm not sure if it's just a software problem. I think in some instances we may have somewhat of a people problem. Software alone won't solve the issue. You have to train people and they have to understand their job. As a matter of fact, next month we have a town hall / workshop with business owners, because I really want the people who serve in planning and sustainability to hear firsthand what I've heard. Because this isn't about laying blame, this is about solving a problem. And in order to solve it, it's sort of like being an alcoholic. You first have to acknowledge that you have an issue. So I feel that it's really important for them to sit there, for us to have a round table for everyone to explain what they need. Because honestly, economic development is the key to transforming where you sit now. And when you have businesses that say it's too difficult to do business, that becomes a problem. What are you doing to bring business to Candler Road and beautify Rainbow Drive, the large abandoned junkyard? Not sure about a large abandoned junkyard, but that's here on Rainbow Drive. Rainbow Way, are you familiar with that, with anything like that, Director Hardy?
There was a tow yard on Rainbow Way that we dealt with. That particular location, most of the vehicles were moved, but it sounds like this might be something separate and apart from that. When you said junkyards, it's just salvage vehicles we're talking about? Who asked the question?
A large abandoned junkyard on Rainbow Drive.
Rainbow Way.
Rainbow Way?
So the person that answered the question, can you tell me if it's vehicles we're talking about?
We'll check it out.
I didn't ask the question, but it's still there.
Okay.
It's still there, but the cars are not there no more. It is talking about the beautification.
I got
Okay,
you. Okay.
okay.
Then it may be the same location.
Well, and you know, Director Hardy, you know, I've been forthright with you in saying that it's time to crack down. I was sitting at an intersection and just happened to look to my right, and I think it's the lower end of Belvedere coming away from Atlanta. And I looked over there, and because now it's winter and the kudzu is dead, all I saw was cars. And you can't see these cars during the summer because of the thick brush. But that's just not permissible. So, you know, I want to empower the department to write every citation we can. And also in speaking with, you know, some of our judges and getting legal advice on how to help remediate the condition. And actually, Director Hardy, we spoke about this during our meeting this week.
Yeah.
It had been that when we come out, we cite you, and you may have 14 days to remediate the condition, sometimes longer. But I want to get us in code compliance. We come out each week. So by the time you show up to court, you're going to have 4 citations, 8 citations, 16 citations, because the way to punch people is in the pocket. Me giving you 30 days, and when you come to court, you only remediate the condition before you show up and there were no consequences. So in order to be able to find them on multiple citations, we have to return each week. So that is what I have instructed, particularly with the cutting of grass. It shouldn't take you 14 days to cut high grass. That's just too long. And by the time we get you in court, it's all over. So that being said, you know, it's an ongoing effort. Now on Candler Road, we need a catalytic project. If we get the right project, and there are 2 efforts right now we're working on, those projects will spur development. But before people truly begin to come in and revitalize that corridor, they've got to know that there is a major project and there is a reason. So just know that we are working on those. Right now, the mall is under contract. I'm not sure if that's going anywhere because I don't think they'll get past the SLUP. Because I'm very clear on knowing that we need an economic development hub there. And if it isn't mixed use, it includes retail, I personally don't want it. Okay, what are you doing? Okay, that's the same, and this is almost the last question. Okay, Tracy, Great American Cleanup Competition, Hardy, does businesses include county staff? Does business vehicles include county staff vehicles or like company cars? Tracy, is there trash/recycling receptacles in high traffic areas? Just curious. So Director Hutchinson, is there trash and recycling receptacles in high traffic areas?
So, yes, some of the high corridors that we actually go out and pick litter up on, we have placed trash cans in those areas. In particular, there is one area, Farrington Road in particular, people have made a road or a path, and we service that area quite a bit, but we have put trash cans out there. At MARTA stops that just got the sign up, those are DeKalb County trash cans. So we are putting trash cans around the county to make sure that people have a receptacle to put their litter in. If we notice areas that have high traffic, you know, as far as like trash go, yes, we will put trash cans out there. So, and I think it was another question in regards to
Great
the
American Cleanup Competition.
That's going on right now. That is true. We partner with Commissioner Dr. Bolton.
In District 7.
In District 7. And we partner with Commissioner Ted Terry. There's a competition going on. Anybody could join that. And they're going to have a awards luncheon, recognition program at the end of the cleanup. The cleanup started in March 20th and goes until June 21st. So it's a Great American Cleanup.
And I will make sure I add it to my newsletter. I don't think they sent me a flyer, or are we? I don't remember reading that. It's in my newsletter.
I don't know if it's
okay. Leah said she believes that we did, so we'll make sure we include it if it's not. And does business vehicles include county staff vehicles or like company cars? I would assume you're asking this because they're parked at a home or something. I'm not sure what this question is, honestly. And the last question, why can't code enforcement ordinances be updated with stiffer penalties? It all comes down to the judge. We get them, and once we get them, when they fail to comply and we bind them over to the courts, the judge makes the decision as to what the penalties are. So I do encourage you all to reach out to our judges and make them aware that, you know, we are in alignment, that in order to stop some of the repeat offenders and violators that we see, that there is a need for stiffer penalties. Now, with that said, I don't have any more scripted notes because they have gotten real good on giving me papers that I'm supposed to read. Actually, I do have final remarks. Yes, ma'am.
Apparently my card got lost. I was asking her about charm, and then I forget the other question was about, but I wanted to ask her what was charm. That was the one thing I had on there.
CHARM is, it's an acronym for Center for Hard to Recycle Materials. Okay? And that's where you can take things like glass, you can take plastics, because, you know, at one point, and COO, tell me if I'm wrong, we were paying about $1 million a year to send our plastics to China. They totally did a 360 on us during COVID. Prior to that, they were receiving it, and then we had to start paying them. Are we still paying to get rid of those materials?
We do. We pay the processor to process our recycling. Our curbside recycling, we do pay Pratt. But Pratt do subside with a credit that comes back to us, but we do pay Pratt to make sure that that material is actually being recycled.
And then I asked about, can we get a copy of your presentation, or how can we get someone to come to our homeowners association?
Great question.
To present some of these slides that you have, especially about the 7 deadly sins and others.
Okay, yeah, that's as simple as an ask. I guess you didn't get the memo. We take the show on the road. JP is in charge of the show. So yes, if you'll just reach out to the office and give us the date, if it's available, you know, we'll come. If not, we'll work on a date that's mutually available, and I'll bring along others who you request. What's this?
Eastgate Shopping Center?
Eastgate, that's, is that Eastgate Shopping Center? That's along Columbia Drive. It's due in court April 23rd, so why don't you go and show up and let the judge see you? Because we've been through this with them like a rabid dog chasing his tail. So show up in court on April 23rd. Who knows what time? At 1 o'clock, Mr. Musgrave would know because he's been all over that corridor. But April 23rd at 1 p.m., show up to court, and hopefully we can force their hand on doing what they need to do. Yes, ma'am. Hi.
My question is, as our community are changing and we're getting diverse populations and population placement, it's said that if you know better, you'll do better. And so how are you getting the messages out to populations that are not familiar with the norms and the expectations of the community? Because as people become new homeowners, or as their station improves, they may not know what's expected as far as trash cans, you know, like some people are still, if you drive, you can see people hanging their clothes up to dry, you know, on the front porch. So how are we to embrace the newness of the community?
Thank you. And let me say that, you know, government doesn't move about. We stay in the same place. Sometimes the people change, but not the mission. And I say that to say that there's not a person in this room who should not be receiving the county newsletter. When you move into a county, you should immediately seek to receive a newsletter or to connect with your local leaders. Your commissioners in this case, your state representatives. I see State Representative Viola Davis, who's come in, one of our state representatives. And with that being said, you know, it's hard. We can't go knock on 763,000 folks' door. We have too many people who don't show themselves to us. And often we show ourselves when we get the call that they haven't done something they ought to do. You know, when I speak about legislating morality and decency, as a homeowner, I shouldn't have to tell you to cut your grass. I shouldn't have to tell you to keep your noise or your music at an acceptable level. I shouldn't have to tell you don't park your cars on grass. So, you know, government wasn't designed, honestly, to do much of what we have to do in peacekeeping because people plain and simply aren't reasonable and prudent with each other. Now, the one thing that I will say consistently is I do not believe that those at this moment, because many parts of DeKalb is undergoing gentrification. The new folk coming ain't the problem.
Amen.
The ones who've been there the longest seem to be, in many instances, who have bad habits. Because we're seeing, even along Columbia and Memorial Drive, property values are increasing because homes are selling for higher dollar amounts, which attracts an individual that tends to have a higher income. And as you see the income go up, that's a direct correlation along with the amount of rooftops as to what type businesses we can attract. So I want y'all to know that this economic development is not rocket science. I want a Whole Foods. Okay, I want to be clear now. That's what I want. Well, in 2019, when I was elected, I called. And that was the aha moment for me. Because the only thing they were concerned about is, first of all, the exact geographic location. Thereafter, they looked at two things: the amount of homes within a quarter-mile radius and the median household income of those homes. Those two factors will tell you whether or not it will come. And I heard Ms. Pace say, not here. So and the biggest mistake I believe we've made as a community is not being strategic in how we grow. So for some of you sitting out there, know when to say no. Don't say no to everything, because rooftops can be the key to you getting what you want. But understand what it is and be clear, and make sure you have leaders who represent you, who can articulate who we are and what we desire. Because in certain parts of Stonecrest, you know, that's your high income earning communities. 30038 zip code, second only in black wealth to Prince George's County, Maryland. But Prince George's County looks nothing like Stonecrest, because we don't have the economic development. We don't have the food options, because we don't have the rooftops. And right now, if I present a housing community, I don't want that traffic. We don't need that. Also, be very cognizant and mindful. Some will say, I want the same thing you have in the city of Decatur. They can walk anywhere and eat. Well, also, when I leave that office, I sit in traffic for 20 to 30 minutes, and none of them are complaining about it, because they understand that traffic is a byproduct of the development that they have that created the walkable community. So once they're home, they don't have to drive anywhere. They can get out and walk. So think about what you want. Push your representatives, our commissioners and others, to work along with your vision, but don't think that you can get something without giving something. It's a balance. And with that said, JP is here to tell me food has arrived. He has come over here to tell me something 3 times.
Absolutely. And
Come and find it. This is everything that I received.
The questions that we have to wrap up only because we have lunch and vendors, but the questions that have not been answered have been given to COO Zach Williams, and they will be answered.
I read
And
that.
also, after we wrap up, the panelists will also be available to answer questions.
I think this affects everybody, though. So it's a quick question.
okay.
Go right ahead. But I'm just making sure I have read everything that I was given.
And it's a little off topic, but it is broad. The Board of Commissioners, at least 2 of them, are asking for 3 new staff positions at $300,000 a year. And they want it funded out of the general fund. And I've also read that there's a freeze on hiring for all non-essential positions. So my question is, if that passes, is that something that will come out of the general fund? And do you have a position on that?
Let me say, actually, that I appreciate the question. For those of you who may not be aware, last Thursday, I signed my 2nd executive order since taking office. The first we signed during the ice storm, and the second dealt with the creation of any new positions in DeKalb County. Also, if you are creating a position that is not currently funded within the budget, it would require my signature. The other thing that I ask is for all departments to sharpen their pencil and bring to me plans for the generation of revenue. Now, why am I asking for that? What we're seeing right now on the federal level, I believe there's three different, we've had three different instances of money not arriving. In one instance, we've had money that has been withheld because DeKalb has been deemed a sanctuary county. Okay? So unfortunately, when I look at the city of Atlanta, because what you have to do as a leader is look at best practices. The city of Atlanta has the Atlanta Police Fund. It generates, on average, $30 million a year to be used towards policing, and it's all given by big business. So I have created the DeKalb Police Fund because we can utilize that money to pay living, housing, stipends, and fund our police department. Also, Atlanta has the West Side Future Fund, which is a future fund that was designed to help with the building of affordable housing, as well as scholarships and enrichment opportunities for low to median income children. We are now in the process of starting a DeKalb Future Fund. I sat with those. As a matter of fact, Jacob Vallow, who now works for us, started that fund with $120 million. So if we had those types of programs, if money is withheld from us, we wouldn't be so hard hit. But because we don't have them, if the money goes, there's nothing I can do as a leader to make up currently as an aggregate. I'm using the proper word, COO Williams. DeKalb receives $360 million combined in federal funds. There's nothing I can do to make up $360 million. I want you to know that even though sometimes we get in an uproar and we say, oh, we're taxed too much, I share the same pain. But believe it or not, your sanitation fees barely and sometimes doesn't cover the cost of the service. We don't make money off the delivery of water and sanitation services. We don't make money. The money that we receive, by and large, that operates DeKalb County government comes from your property taxes. That's it. That's the largest pot. And we can only charge you so much for that. So with that being said, you are correct. There is an agenda item that some commissioners have put forward to hire an attorney, to hire their own financial director, and who? And they want their own communications director. So with that being said, I urge you to write them and let them know how you feel. My position is DeKalb County currently has 23 full-time attorneys. Many of them specialize in different areas. I'm not sure how effective, and this is truly from the heart and with the best intent, one attorney would be. Because oftentimes what we deal with requires you to go directly to the attorney who has mastered public safety, to go directly to the attorney that has mastered land development and land use. So, you know, I no longer have the vote. I don't take a vote. But, you know, also when it comes to marketing, we have a marketing department. And any resource that we have, that everyone within DeKalb County is totally welcome to use those. So with that being said, I will see how the vote goes down on that. But again, I am not funding any new positions. So with that being said, if they choose to utilize a portion of their budget, then I welcome them to take that action and be responsible for the salaries that are associated with the individuals they seek to retain. Okay.
Madam CEO, I have a question for you. We listen how they frequently ask
Okay, so JP did say that all the questions were not answered.
Right.
So because in lieu of time, we want y'all to capture some of your Saturday. It looks like a beautiful day out there. So with that said, thank you again for everyone who's joined us. Your presence is a clear sign that you are about your neighborhood and about our community issues as well as our future. Please take advantage of the resources that are on the tables located in the lobby outside. You can visit sanitation, code compliance, parks and recreation, watershed, and human services. Make sure if you're not receiving it, you sign up for our newsletter. That newsletter is the quickest way that I have to reach you and give you information. Again, we're all here to serve. I thank you for the panel, for the conversation. And again, let me express to you that we are truly committed to making DeKalb the best. I love you. And ain't nothing you can do about it.